People, I'm sitting in the dark. It's not so dark, but it's better than nothing. I can see a little. We are talking about thousands of years of divide and rule, order from this order. People, the white race believes they are different and must be the enemy of other races to survive. And this is because they were isolated, placed in a vacuum, and cultivated in this manner. They were placed in a situation where all they knew as a new people was what a cultic movement, which began thousands of years ago, taught them. I know how challenging some of these topics are, but yet we must remove the illusions that lead to mayhem. White people came from black folks. White people came from black folks. For many centuries, the white race that was brought about by natural selection were random offsprings that appeared because of most ancient miscegenations were selected and isolated. It is no secret that these random children are still being born today in Africa, although to a lesser degree than years before. Blue eyes, green eyes, blonde hair, brunettes, all came from black origins as a direct child of a black male and a black female directly. I mean directly born to them. The albinos are a fairly common event, but whites still appear every now and again. They were amassed to create division and chaos. They were amassed to create division and chaos so that some demonic beings could create their own world paradigms and become gods on earth. Order from disorder, control through chaos. Create the problem and become the solution. Throw the stone and hide your hand, then become the hero giving fixes. The white people were not amassed for peace and unity. They were brought in for chaos. And from that disorder, the world order was to be created. The white people were supposed to be given a sense of inclusivity and then be used as house slaves in ignorance. I wish there was some way that I could say abracadabra and the knowledge of the glorious divine sciences that these lustful evil souls had just discovered would enter into your mind. To a degree, they knew it, but to the other degree, they cannot grasp it because they are below that frequency. The result is Earthman's hell. But you still don't know the power that I am talking about. It is a long-lasting power and everlasting if you are pure. It is the science of all science. It is the mystery of all mysteries. It is power to create and dominate beyond your wildest dream. It makes you no longer mere man, but God. For now, you have the power to create worlds. Yes, like Genesis, you create worlds and paradigms and make the stolen human sheep to worship you. This is the mindset that this new cultic creed created when power came to lower minds. In order to intrude and subdue the great masses, they had to be made smaller by division. That is, the white race had to be a smaller division. They had to be confounded by barbar spells that you call Babel. turn them into splinter cells and groups, and never give power to the majority. That's the trick. The white race was a minority, just like the Fulanis that Britain deliberately imposed to rule Nigeria for Britain's colonial looting sake. But Fulanis hate the masses. Yes, the Fulanis that Britain used, that minority that he used to rule over Nigeria for Britain's colonial looting sake, hate the masses. They hate the Igbo. They hate the other tribes. Today, toddling white people were made the aliens and conditioned to plunder for their own identity by stealing histories and legacies from the intrinsic black race. Because when they were brought and isolated, they would only see themselves as a people with no origin. They wonder, even to this day, they will wonder, then where are we from? Because they were taken from the people that were isolated and told that they were different. And so they were fighting to change the history of how things were in order to make themselves belong. They, being deliberately incubated in the Mittani region, knew nothing or were never told about their own identities and origins. All they were taught was about war and greed. All they knew is how to be a warlord, to drink blood out of skulls and stuff like that. Even today, when he hear white folks speak of history, when we hear white folks speak of history, but you know the truth. It is like listening to a stranger telling you that you don't belong to your mother, but he does, although he cannot pronounce her name and he has no idea of how the conditions of her life and cultures were. They raided and whited out across the west, yes, the west, and now to the east, believing that they were a different race and mal-cultivated into prejudice, avarice, and greed. They were told that they will achieve by being warlords and using this word to take, and take. They were doing exactly what the greedy cultic movements created them for, to make it seem like a minority presented as different from mankind was the beacon of light for the world. They would cast out the true history of the earth masses, name themselves descendants of those that accomplished the most magnificent things, and impose upon those legacies. They would change the image of how things were. By so doing, they would create disunity, man against himself, thinking that it was one different people against the other. Then he would empower the minority with a sense of inclusivity and use them as like house slaves. In order to rule, you must empower the few and give them power to rule the many on your behalf. He would not want to be the loser. So he would want to be the Caucasian. He would not want to be the weak one. So he would want to be the Europa, the child of Europa. My people, once more, the child of the ritualized Akashic blood created by my fathers, my ancestors, and my gods that knew me thousands of years ago, even before I was conceived, and in their honor sits in the darkness to bring forth the light. What a glorious day! Magic happens, and it is beautiful to experience. Please press the like button and subscribe to get more from this channel soon. Greece was totally transferred into their hands and stolen as their legacies. Yes, Greece. Greece, where they went and saw a developed nation, a developed society. Greece, where what they inherited the legacies and the sciences that they claim to be their own. Now they would appear to be the historical Greeks. They also became the only legitimate children of the Black Mother Europa by desolating and replenishing Europe in their image. They changed the image of what things were. They became the indigenes of Italy. But all their greatest structures, yes, Italy, they became the indigenes of Italy. But all their greatest structures, including the Vatican, are built upon the bones of the original civilizations as black as tar from there to Ethiopia. Over thousands of years, billions, billions of indigenous earth people were slain and their histories and legacies stolen. But the genocides continued to today. The moment we come is the sign that it ends now. The first thing they became on earth was Caucasians. Yes, Caucasians. Stolen legacy. Caucasus. The black carcass. The black carcass. The black carcass. The first thing they became on earth that they stole was the legacy of Caucasus, which was the legacy of the black priests of the Caucasus that were all light bringers. By the power of the blood of their messiahs, the Christ of God, or even say their Jesuses, the black Caucasus priests discovered how to pass down knowledge by way of akasha instead of by written form. The children up to thousands of generations. Did you hear me? The children up to thousands of generations would know science, wisdoms, or even anthropology without having to be taught by others, without having to be taught by others. They would know intrinsically. You will ask them, where did you learn that from? The highest science wisdom was there among them, and these impostors, these white folks, wanted to learn and take it as their legacy, as they were taught to do. It was the first legacy they stole after being technically created by cultic forces so as to cause the perfect division and destruction for the new world paradigm. However, to steal this wisdom, to steal the wisdom of the black priest of the Caucasus, many bloodlines would have to be destroyed. Destroy their kings and their priests. Do you remember all these stories in history? Destroy their kings and their priests in the Middle East, in Africa. Destroy their rituals. Destroy their bush doctors. Destroy the people who goes to the forest and bring forth wisdom by nature. Do you remember that? However, to steal these wisdoms, many bloodlines would have to be destroyed. The power in the blood, the power in the blood, and this they have tried over thousands of years to this day. We've got the power. There is power in the blood. Power in the blood of the Christ of God. There is power in the blood of the Jesus and the Messiahs and every Christ of God. So they want to destroy their bloodlines, and this they have tried over thousands of years to this day. But now again the blood of the sons of man has prevailed, and the elected ones will come from the cosmic and back through the womb in mighty legions once more. So all the sacrificing of the sages, the messiahs and their children could never erase the word of God from the lips of their children. But now you turn their children against them. Now you turn their children against them, telling them to sacrifice their Christ of God, their Messiahs, their Jesuses, because God wants the communion, and they believe you. Being like the reprobates, they believe you. My children, my people, how could you, how could you, how could you believe the demon? Don't you know an evil deed when you see one? Don't you know on your own that bloodshed is not pretty? So now they were claiming Palestine. They used a step-by-step process to remove the black indigenous races over millenniums. There were, for example, declarations by Roman rulers including Titus or Domitian stating that Palestine was now a state of Rome and all black people had to leave or face consequences. It was a horrible Holocaust, and you might find these declarations in your history books, stating even later at AD 70 and AD 132, for example. I remember even reading those. It was an ongoing process that had the same menace and cross burning as the KKK. There was nothing different. It was the same system like with the KKK saying, get out of here, get out of Johannesburg. Johannesburg is a state of Dutch. And later on, the history of Johannesburg will be some white people. And they made the Bubuzela, they made the Bubuzela, they made the Bubuzela 100 years from now. They made the Bubuzela, they are indigenous. Black people were never in Johannesburg. Do you understand? Black people never lived in Johannesburg. It's the history of the Dutch in Johannesburg. The Bubuzela was made in Johannesburg because they control the history 200 years from now. Ah, yes, so as a remnant of the Assin tribe of Azra, which you call Israel, was left in the Middle East and hiding in caves after the declarations that all black people were to leave. If you are talking about a story about Israel from the time of Moses to 2,000 years later, and you believe that the tribal outlook would be the same, you are dead wrong. Small tribes become separate nations, and more tribes with different names will emerge. By the time of ISO, his tribe had now become the Asin, which you refer to as an insect instead of an Asin remnant. The old Roman Catholic Bible spelled his name as Ayesu, which is absolutely correct. And the people in Spain who spell it with a J also gets the pronunciation close, except for the S at the end. The Africans that spoke Ayesu's group of languages, his group of languages, the Africans that spoke IS's group of languages occupied Spain for 700 years or so. This is why we say Miradi as an exclamation, which Jamaicans love and corrupted to Miratid instead of Miradi. You notice we say that all right, right? We say Miradi all the while, but now it's turned to Ratid. Miradi means to look here. It means look here, like in Jamaica, watch ya, or Miradi. Miro is look in Spain. So in Spain, the word is corrupted to miro, is look in Spain. And it is because their language was corrupted by the Azra group of languages. You use the word Israel. Please like, share, and subscribe as you go. Peace out. Israel. Israel. Israel.